Hello, everyone, and welcome to ATL Falcons UK. This is our first show of the season following a win, so it's going to be a lot more positive than it has been, and hopefully a lot less sad faces. This week, Cal and I are joined by Miles of Fox 5 Sports. As you know, he's been on a handful of times now. We've got David from the Falcoholic, and we've got Jake from Sport Talk ATL. So I'm going to let Cal open it up to the boys, and we'll just see where it ends up.
So yes, our first win after 3 games, so not bad going, I would say, especially compared to last season and the seasons before. So, my sort of take on it wasn't pretty, it wasn't great, but I was buzzing with the win, absolutely buzzing. I was messaging Danny, and it was just like, you got to take the positives when you can. You got to take the dubs when we can. So, from me, there's obviously a lot more of the season to go. There was a lot of negatives, but a win's a win at the end of the day, and I'm still buzzing about it.
Yeah, that's the best part. We aren't the coaches. We can just be happy about the win. They got 100,000 things they got to fix. So,
Absolutely. Go on, Jake. What was your overview of the game then before we get into breaking it down a bit?
Well, I think as I referred to it on Twitter, I think it said it was the most boring game I'd ever watched in my life for the first about 3.5 quarters. But hey, my main takeaway, maybe I just have a short memory, but it was nice to see some vintage Matty Ice at the end there, take him down the field and win the game. You know, like you said, it wasn't pretty, but that was something nice to see. The Falcons controlled the clock, they controlled the run game in the last couple minutes, and they controlled the game. That's the most important part, and they came out with a win because of it. No huge disaster. There wasn't really a lead to blow, but no blown lead, no huge disaster. I can't complain about that.
Yeah, I'll echo that point about Matty a little bit, just because those last 2 drives were really what we've been hoping for the previous few games. He has looked a little bit shaky and a little bit out of character at times. Obviously, the O-line's not helped that, but those last 2 drives kind of cemented the fact that he's still got quality, so we need to make sure people aren't writing him off just yet. And obviously, a certain quarterback that I won't mention got sacked 9 times yesterday as well, so that went well for him.
Mobile quarterbacks are always the answer, guys. It's always the answer.
There we go, always. David, what did you think?
Yeah, sometimes you have to win ugly. And we all wanted a blowout. We wanted 28, 35, 42 points on the board. But, the reality is we were going on the road second week in a row. The Giants were also another team coming off of 10 days of rest, just like the Bucs. NFL schedule makers had it in for the Falcons to start the season. But yeah, sometimes things go haywire, and it actually builds confidence when you have a bad game and you can still close it out and win on the road. Road wins are really difficult to come by. Former Falcons coach Mike Smith used to talk about how his game plan was you win all your home games and you split on the road, and you can be a 12-4 team. And it was an acknowledgement that going on to someone else's field and beating them, no matter what you think about the Giants, is a difficult proposition. So I wanted to see the offense be more explosive. We didn't get that. They get to come home, and hopefully we'll see them work on some of the things that they struggle with. But yeah, I'll take the road win any day of the week.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you said, it was one of those we were all expecting I was a pretty high scoring game yesterday, considering our offense was meant to be what was going to light us up this year. And I don't know if it was the calls or the players not being in the right place at the right time and things like that. I wouldn't like to debate too much, but it was rough for a large part of it. And the D really did keep us in the game for pretty much 3 quarters of that game. Miles, what's your overview?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a few takeaways from this game. First of all, you're right. A win's a win. And I think you were sort of seeing it at the end of the game. It was great to see them smile for once. Who knows just what that can just do for the overall vibe of the locker room right now. Because it's been obviously pretty down in the dumps for the last few weeks. But definitely a few takeaways besides a win being a win. I was actually kind of impressed with the offensive line. Granted, they're not facing off against Fletcher Cox and Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, all those guys, but Matt Ryan had time to throw this week, which was pleasant. It may not have been a lot of time, but he had time this week. And, outside of that last few drives, I was even a little concerned with Matt Ryan. I was like, he's got time this week. I'm kind of concerned that he's not getting the ball. Maybe it was some coverage stuff going on. But you're right. He did what he had to do at the end, and, that's why he is Matt Ryan. He does what he does. I was also thoroughly impressed with the defense. Again, I know it's Daniel Jones. I know it's these guys, but they put them in position to win this game. And the entire game, I was like, look, the offense has got to do something because the defense is holding up their end right now.
Yeah.
And I was honestly a little concerned going into this game because Daniel Jones has that mobility. I was a little concerned that we'd maybe revert back to that Jalen Hurts game where, it looked like there were some sacks that we were going to get, but, he just evades it and, is able to create something out of nothing. But, Daniel Jones is who we thought he was. He's not that good of a quarterback. I'm not afraid to say it. He's a bottom tier quarterback. And
you'll have Giants fans coming for you.
But, they held Taekwon Barkley in check, Yeah, I'm not afraid of it. Come at me, New York fans. We own you, whatever. But no, I mean Taekwon Barkley was held in check too. I mean, he didn't do much. Supposedly one of the top, and again, I think he is. I just think he's caught on a bad team. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. But the defense was. I mean, Dean Pease is doing something with the talent he's got right now. Especially without AJ Terrell there this past weekend. Doing what he did with that secondary, I think was a very pleasant surprise. One big disappointment for me was Calvin Ridley. I know one play in particular, but I think there was two, maybe three, where he was just avoiding contact. And I was like, dude, I mean, it was especially evident on that third down play where I'm like, dude, just fall forward. Like he looks like he was just trying to not get hit on certain plays. I'm like, man, this is wide receiver 2 stuff, man. You gotta, if you're going to be the number one guy, you got to be making these plays. And, maybe that was a bit.
There's one that was, I think it was on the third down, and I think I messaged Danny straight away. I think he only needed 3 yards, and he just went straight to the left, and it was like, whatever.
Exactly.
It was an easy. I would have got the first down, etc. Then it's sort of momentum from there, but it's something that I've always for the last couple of years we've always sort of noticed that he does. There's times where you think if you just run forward, you get an extra 10 yards, but he tries. Everyone has their own technique and that, but I think he does feel like he needs to dodge a lot more than he should do.
Yeah. For sure. And one additional thing that I wanted to add as far as things that I liked, the whole game we were waiting for Kyle Pitts to get the ball and we were seeing what's going on. Maybe it was a coverage thing, maybe it's a trust issue, but at the very end of the game, I'm hoping this carries on to the next few games. We've been saying that for a while now, but when Matt Ryan threw that sort of jump ball in the end zone that was called for pass interference, I was like, that is what I'm waiting for. He's a mismatch. He's a nightmare for these guys. He's 6'5", the largest wingspan. Give him those 50-50 balls. There's going to be a pass interference. There's going to, maybe he does drop some. I'm fine with that. Just give him a chance. And, seeing him do that and then, making those big plays at the end, I really like seeing that. So that was my take.
I've said before about Pitts too, is sometimes it really looks like, cause he's so gifted and that's never going to not be there. But I feel like sometimes he actually catches the ball because you think he didn't play in the preseason.
Yeah.
Not a lot of targets week 1. I feel like sometimes he actually catches the ball and he's like, oh shit, what do I do now? Actually, he's so good. He does it, but he kind of has to you almost see him stop for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think he could have caught that ball in stride, the last one for Matt. Obviously, I'm not complaining. They got the field goal, but
exactly.
I think he could have took that.
Yeah.
And I think he will start doing that. I think very soon, maybe even next week, we're going to see Kyle Pitts rip a 65-something yard touchdown. And everybody's going to be like, okay, this is the guy we got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just whilst we're on the topic of tight ends, anyone's takes on Frank's starting, getting his early snaps at tight end? I see David's head in hands there. But...
Better than Tebow, baby. Let's go.
I don't get it. I mean, if this is the secret weapon for the Falcons offense, something has gone completely off the rails. I think sometimes offensive coordinators can get too much in their heads and they're thinking, okay, the defense will never ever see this coming. And sometimes the defense won't see it coming because it's stupid, because you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And, I still think Arthur Smith is going to turn into a really, really good head coach and offensive coordinator for this team. But right now, I think he's overthinking things. I think he needs to return to some of the basics. Do the things that get your guys open, the drags across the field, the pick plays. And I know some of that, you're always at the risk of getting called for offensive PI when you use those picks, but that's where you have to train your guys and get them to do that well. And in fact, that's what they did for their touchdown to Zacchaeus. It was a simple pick play,
Yeah.
And if you execute it right, it breaks those guys free. Teams across the NFL are doing it every single day. But Frank's at tight end, I no, like if you're gonna do that, and it's been done before. Logan Thomas came out of college as a quarterback, big armed quarterback, in fact, and they started transitioning him to tight end, but they took several years to do it. They didn't do it after a preseason and 2 games. So I think if you're going to try Franks at tight end, which I don't know if that's the plan or not, but if you're going to do something like that, stick him on the practice squad, secure him as one of your 4 secured guys and play around with it for a year, but not in the freaking middle of the season against an actual NFL football team. So yeah, that was one of the head scratchers. And I think it was only 2 or 3 plays where that happened, but that's like 5 times too many in my mind.
That's something that has concerned me early is, that was in the script too. And we saw when they got in the red zone against the Eagles, they go to the Wildcat, and I'm like, just don't stop with the gimmicks. Yeah. Like I don't want gadget plays. I don't want gimmicky plays. Sure, you got 3 or 4 in your bag that you'll bust out over the course of the year, but in the script, like, run the offense. I think they can run the offense. Yeah. Contrary to what I've seen with my own 2 eyes, I think they can run it, but
yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to add Mark in. He's messing about with his camera. Hi, Mark. You all right?
Hello.
We are just kind of touching based on Frank's playing at tight end and then moving on to the offense a little bit. Have you got any takes on that one?
No.
That's everyone's take.
No, I think it's going to be a discussion that goes on all season, that isn't it? So I think we.
I hope not.
We have to just remember, as I keep saying, that it's still early. I still think we're going to get better. I don't think we're going to. I'm not saying we're going to go on a massive run, but I think we need to. I think we need to start being realistic and also stop being happy about the good things that we see rather than just the bad.
Criticizing. I think we come to the London game 2-2. I think we win next week and then take the Jets as well. I think we finish it 3-2 this little stint, but.
I think Washington will be a good measuring stick for these guys because I mean I don't want to be the guy that says it now, but I mean I'm going to be the guy that says it now. If they don't beat the Jets, there's going to be something wrong because the Jets seem like just an absolute train wreck right now. I mean they probably say the same thing about the Falcons too, but based on what I've seen with the Jets, I mean if they can beat Washington.
Oh,
I think you muted yourself, Miles.
I think you've muted yourself, Miles. Or your sound's gone, one or the other. Oh. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically what I was saying is that, if you can beat football team with Ron Rivera, he's a pretty good head coach, knows what he's doing, then I think that's a good sign going forward that, they can beat because, I mean, Washington's a competent franchise. They may not have... at
what level?
Competent franchise in the fact that I trust Ron Rivera as a coach. I think he's leading. I think he's the right guy for this team.
Yeah.
No, maybe I should have watched my phrasing there. They still need a quarterback and everything. But that's going to go all over freezing cold takes. But if they beat Washington, then I feel pretty good going forward. So after that.
Yeah, and Washington's defensive line, I kind of had them circled, but they had the same amount of sacks as the Falcons. They got 6 on the year. They've given up over 30 points a game. I mean, they look pretty beatable. I mean, I think you can beat Washington. And you talk about Zach Wilson. I mean, Dean Pease, we saw what Vic Fangio and Bill Belichick just did to Zach Wilson. I think Dean Pease could do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I don't see why not. I mean, Pease was our only positive for them, like large parts of yesterday. I'm pretty sure I saw more than one tweet out there saying if it's not a pick six, we ain't getting a touchdown today. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, but it did look like that for a stint at the start. What do you all think about how slow we're starting in terms of our initial drives? Because that's the third week running now where we're just hitting dead ends early on in the game.
I think there's been different reasons every week. You know, you look at week one, it was clear the Eagles were just absolutely destroying the inside of our offensive line. And then you just had incredibly poorly timed penalties by guys like Jalen Mayfield and whatnot that was killing drives. Last week we did see them have more success. They put 25 points up on the board against a very good Bucs defense. Although they may have gotten exposed by the Rams yesterday as well. That said, the offensive line improved slightly, and we saw them get a little bit better. This game, I actually felt like it was in large part due to Matt Ryan's lack of confidence in what he was seeing. Either he wasn't seeing guys open the way he was anticipating them, and sometimes, we may never know, but having talked to a few quarterbacks over the years, they won't throw guys under the bus, but sometimes when you're learning a new offense and you've got a guy lined up and he doesn't run the right route, it breaks the entire play. He is supposed to be in a spot because, you've got this receiver, going 15 and out, and he's supposed to pull the safety. If all of a sudden he's running a hitch, that safety is still in the middle of the field and he is in line to attack the other receiver. Yeah. And this could be the little minor breakdowns that are going to get slowly corrected as the season progresses, because you got to remember, this is not just a new scheme for Matt Ryan. It's a new scheme for these wide receivers too. Yeah. And it's, you think about Calvin Ridley, he's only played essentially in he was with Sark for 1 year and then with Dirk for 2. So this is probably brand new for him as well. So I think there's probably some things going on behind the scenes that as observers, we're not seeing, but to a quarterback, it's those fine details that, especially for a quarterback like Matt Ryan, he's not going to gun it in there like a Brett Favre used to. He is waiting on timing. He is waiting on the looks. And if he's not getting the right timing and he's not getting the good looks, it's going to make him a hesitant quarterback. It's going to make him look a lot like he's, not having a good game. And frankly, it could just be the stuff that's going to take time to adjust to.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming off the back of that, then.
Yeah, I like to harken back to the. Oh no, sorry, my thing's on a horrible delay right now.
No, it's all right.
I was going to say that for me, it just harpens back to the Kyle Shanahan days of the first year of that offense. It looked like they hadn't figured things out that first year, and the second year they figured it out. And like you said, it's just getting acquainted to the new system. There were some times yesterday where I think you could hear it on the field almost. I don't know whether it was Kyle Pitts or Calvin Ridley, but I think there was one play where it looked like he just didn't know what route he was supposed to run. Like it was like one of those where he was like looking at Matt like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. So again, that's just that takes time and that takes practice. I think they're going to figure it out, like you said.
Yeah, this is a good point too that Peyton Manning brought up during the Lions-Packers game. He was talking about Goff being in a new system. He was watching him like read the play card, and he's like, you actually have to like think about this stuff when it's new to you like that. Like you have to be like, all right, what's this, and it's a lot of thinking. And I think, talk about hesitation, causing indifference. I think that plays into it a little bit too, but I think DW nailed it. I think it's a lot of just working out the kinks, and the fact that they can actually win a game when the offense looks like this is pretty encouraging.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I think one thing that like nobody's talking about is that I know the Giants are. I wouldn't say the Giants are a mess, but the Giants aren't good, right? And I think we can all like be fairly confident to acknowledge that. But at the same time, Giants haven't I can't say I've like watched all 4 quarters of all of their games, but Daniel Jones is getting better as well. And as much as we kind of want to sell this as, oh, well, we just beat a shit team. It's not really the story. Like Daniel Jones hasn't played badly at all throughout the 3 games. Okay, they've lost, and they're the Giants, and Atlanta like going to New York and beating their sports teams, as the Hawks have proven. But I didn't want to be the one that brought that up, but I will be. So like, I think there are massive positives to take from this game, and I think one of the things that worried me going into it was, were we going to make Taekwon Barkley look like a superstar again? I don't think we did. I'm a fantasy guy, right? Well, Daniel Jones is the 6th quarterback in the league in fantasy right now. So like it's being sold by a lot of people right now as, well, we just beat the Giants. And like, yeah, we did, but going into it, everyone had the Giants to beat us.
Literally everyone.
So and yeah, largely due to the defense, but like the boys say, it's a new system. And that always takes time. If we're like in the Chicago Bears Matt Nagy era, where we're 3 years deep and we're still playing absolutely arse cheeks football, then yeah, cool. Like, have a go. Like, like say how bad we are, but it's still early. Like, I really kind of feel like there were more positives from yesterday than people are making out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd agree.
Another thing we haven't talked about yet. How about this Falcons secondary? No AJ Terrell. Isaiah Oliver stepping up and playing some big boy football. I love to see that. Isaiah Oliver, me and DW were on the Isaiah Oliver train before the season started.
You know,
it's a very lonely train, by the way.
It is.
A lot of empty cabooses.
That was going to be my point exactly. I'll put my hands up and say I thought he was dusted by now. I thought he'd had his chances, and I've just not seen enough to justify his selection. But I eat my words, and I am happy to eat my words every single week if it means we win. So bravo to him yesterday, because he was all over the place.
How about Dante Fowler too?
Yeah,
he was making plays yesterday.
Yeah, it was quite.
The thing where everyone sort of turned up on the defensive side. I think we got I know, was it Hawkins got over a 90, but I don't think he actually played that many snaps. But when he does play his snaps weekly, he's not getting a lot up, but he's performing on all the snaps he's coming in. So that's a positive sign, even though he's not getting as many as you sort of want him to get. Yeah. He's performing every time he's coming in the team. He's proving that he can do it. And obviously he's only in his second year as well. And learning a new scheme straight away. He's obviously only 2 years, and he's obviously the shit from last year, and then you've got to learn Dean Pease's this year.
Yeah.
How about Dante Fowler? Terrible first game, but he has been on it the past 2 games.
Awesome. Yeah.
And he's our best pass rusher, which is, a low bar. He's competing, not really, but Grady Jarrett obviously has been a really good pass rusher, but I think Fowler has been doing what we hoped he would do when he came to Atlanta. And if he keeps this up, he's going to finish, somewhere between 8 and 12 sacks. And honestly, that is, for what is essentially at this point a 1-year rental for our pass rusher. He's come through, and I think some of that is probably because he knows he needs to get another contract after this year. But I also think Pease has put him in a position to succeed, and he's taken advantage of that. And it's nice to see him delivering finally on what we were hoping he would do.
Yeah. The fact that he's doing it on a reduced contract is very satisfying as well, like you said, because if he was still on the big bucks, I'd still be a little bit like, nope, you're not quite giving me what we want, but no, I'll take it for now. I think overall they were much improved, weren't they? I saw the post earlier with everybody's stats on them. Michael Walker 92.7 rating, Oliver 90.2, Jarrett 89.8, Avery Williams 76, and then Fowler 70.2. So in comparison to the last few weeks, it's just much improved across the board, really. So there's not that much more that we can ask for as long as the progress is steady and we don't hiccup at any point coming up soon.
I think the rookies played all right, too. I think Ogundeji and Taekwon Graham both played pretty well, too, which is very nice to see because those guys are going to have to be contributors considering how little depth this team does have.
Yeah. Go on, Cal.
I was going to say one take. If AJ is back, obviously you put him straight into the team. But do you keep Oliver in there as well, and then remove Morrow?
I like Oliver in the slot. I say leave him there.
Yeah, I would not move Oliver outside.
I think he'll go back to 2020, 2019 Oliver if he goes back outside.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he's playing a less important role, if he's playing it well, I say hands off, let him have it.
That's fair enough. Can I just get all your takes on the O-line then? So obviously we've already touched on Matt Ryan specifically a little bit, but they didn't give him that much confidence yesterday. So is there any hope with it? Do you think that's just steady improvement too, or?
Look at Jalen Mayfield. He graded out as our 4th highest graded player on PFF.
Yeah.
He had a pass blocking score of 74.7, which is above average, borderline Pro Bowl by their scoring metrics. That was from a 1.4 in week 1, 24-ish in week 2.
Yeah.
And like his trajectory is right. He is heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
And, take advanced stats with a grain of salt, but I think what you saw in the games also holds up to that. He was not standing out, and that's what you want from your offensive lineman. It's like an air traffic controller. If you know their name, something's gone wrong. And that's the same with these offensive linemen. And on several plays, I saw Mayfield out on the second level in the running game, making some key blocks, including, I think, one of the ones for Patterson. So right now, if you're asking me, I'd keep him in there at left guard until he proves that he's taken a significant step back. Because even if Andrews comes back, I don't know that he's going to be an upgrade over how Mayfield is playing. And Mayfield's improving, and that's what you want to see from a young guy at that position.
Yeah,
I think the I listened to the interview with Arthur Smith after the game, and like when it feels very knee-jerk at the moment, and everyone's like Mayfield had those couple of games, and everyone was like, we've got to get on the phone and get in another guard, sharpish, and we've got to do whatever the cap can do to get another veteran guard in, right? Yeah. And Smith stuck with him, and it was like exactly the same pylon last week on the punter. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'm not.
That's
the one. But everyone was like, "Oh, we got to get on the phone tomorrow and speak to some punters," and Smith didn't, and Smith stuck with him, and he actually had a really good game yesterday. There was some really, really good punts. I mean, it was scraping the barrel here talking about good punts. I get that, but I think what I'm trying to get across is that it feels to me like Smith's going, right, I've got to do what I can with what I've got. And I'm not going to dig this team out and make examples of young kids because they've had a bad game or whatever. It is the team, it's the process, it's the culture, blah, blah, whatever bullshit label you want to put on it, right? But he's gone, look, this is what I've got, and this is what I've got to coach. And that to me is better than any Dan Quinn bullshit about, we're really pissed off going into next week's game. Bro, you're gonna have a fucking aneurysm if you are any more pissed off. Like it feels different. It feels more like Coach Smith's got their back, and that's why I think as this season goes on, and that's why I remain quietly confident that we will get better, because it feels like that's starting to pay off a little bit. I'm not going to say we're going to go out and beat Washington. I think Washington are a really, really different outfit under Ron Rivera. Sorry. And, we've got Chase Young to put up with, which is a fucking terrifying thought, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But, again, like I said to you boys week 1, I just want to see improvement. And, I'm kind of every topic I think of, I always go, well, yeah, but things are a little bit optimistic. Why are we ratting on everything so quickly? It's just it's early. Let him coach the team,
Yeah, I will say another guy too. I'm glad we haven't had to say his name. First off, shout out to Chris Lindstrom. Is like, when we start talking about like Quentin Nelson, Zach Martin, like Chris Lindstrom's in that conversation. That's a guy right there. Mayfield, very happy to see him progress. I haven't really heard anybody. I haven't been on just see, Matt Hennessy just got beat so bad. Matt Hennessy's been steady, man. And, he didn't get that offseason when he was a rookie because of COVID and stuff. And, he finally gets a full offseason, and he's been solid. Like, I do think we were spoiled by Alex Mack having such great center play under the radar for so long. Yeah. But I think Hennessy's doing just fine. The only problem area I mean, we all know where this is going. I mean, right now it's still Caleb McGarry. I mean, but he's a right tackle. He does face a lot of good pass rushers, but he's got that 5th-year option coming up, and obviously I don't think it's going to be picked up. So he's got to kind of whip into shape sooner rather than later.
Whilst we're on the topic of development, then in McGarry, do you think there's scope for him to improve enough this season to get that 5th year, or do you think that's dead and buried already?
I just think if it wasn't I think if money wasn't as tight as it was, then I think it's definitely a lot more possible. But I think it may be even like Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst was only like $4.5 million, and they still didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a money thing, regardless of how he plays. But I mean, if he doesn't play well enough, I mean, if he comes out for the rest of the year and he's the best right tackle in the league, then yeah, I guess so. But I would say I would give it like a 98% chance no right now.
Fair enough. David or Miles, have you got any takes on that one, or are you the same with Jake?
Yeah, I pretty much agree 100% with everything Jake just said. I've been very pleasantly surprised with what I saw out of Jalen Mayfield, especially after that week 1, like you guys were saying. Jake Matthews, he's a stud. He's been doing his thing. But, yeah, I mean, outside of the developmental issues that you've got on the line, with Hennessy, looks like he's, starting to maybe slowly progress into what we want him to be. McGarry's been the only issue, I think, because, again, Mayfield, he's a rookie. I'm trying to give him a little bit of a mulligan with how he performs this year. And like you said, he has been improving, so that's good to see. So, I need to see more out of McGarry, and you're right. I don't think he's going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, McGarry still has one more year after this on the original rookie contract.
Is it this offseason that they do the 5th year, though? Because it was a year early for her. Okay,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would pick up the 5th year this year, but he still will have an additional year last year.
Yeah.
I got a lot of grief from people in the offseason when I said that I felt like McGarry's job was at risk going into camp. That was before we knew about Gono's neck injury or whatever it was that he suffered. Yeah. And I stand by that. I think if Gono can come back this season, get into game shape, I think McGarry, if he doesn't improve, we'll see the bench. And honestly, it's all about trajectory. It's not just about the individual game performances. Is this guy getting better game over game? Is he getting better year over year?
Yeah.
And that is what we have not seen with McGarry. After he's in his 3rd year, he is still mostly the same player he was as a rookie, struggles as a pass blocker, does okay as a run blocker. And for a 1st-round pick, a guy, like you said, that you're talking about, whether you use the 5th-year option or not, it's not good enough, especially as right tackles more and more are going to face those top-tier pass rushers. Jake Matthews has left tackle locked down. Like, he's not an issue. So that means if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm coming after McGarry on every single play. So we have to have a much better level of play, and we have to have a guy who's improving, and he's just clearly not. So right now he's got to turn around quick, or he'll be riding the bench sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And, they put that 2nd-round tender on Gono, and I don't know if that necessarily means they really like him, but that makes me think that they really like him.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see when he gets back. Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because really, before the season started, we were hoping that we'd have a lot of stability in the O-line in terms of keeping the same players out there. But when people aren't performing, it's hard to keep justifying them. Like you said, David, how long do you give somebody before you just think it's not worth playing them anymore? They're not going to improve upon the performances, so you may as well have someone like Gono go in there and just do a steady job and see how he turns out for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one positive for me is keeping. Obviously, we know McGarry's not sort of not improved, but obviously Mayfield has, and I think everyone knows if you keep the 5 same players, it will get better. The O-line gets better. You keep the same 5 players all the time, and I think it'll come to the point where that's what I said this after week 1. I think Willow said it as well. Who came on? He was like, "No point taking Mayfield out because his confidence is shot. It's basically 1%. If you take him out after a game, he's at 0% straight away.
Yeah.
Keep him in. He only played one game, one NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping this 5 steady, I think it's an improvement. And hopefully McGarry can sort of pick it up in the next couple of games because a steady O-line with 5 players every week, for me, improves.
Yeah. Right. looking on towards next week, then, which players we're looking at, which are our key players that we want to see perform or not perform in the case of Mike's just commented McGarry v. Young on Sunday is not making me feel great, which we've kind of just briefly covered. So
I think that's where they'll use Smith more than the tight end. They'll use him a lot more, especially with obviously Chase Young. You know what, Chase Young, he's going to be on that side literally probably 85% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there'll be basically a line of 6 for 90% of our plays.
I think Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen up the middle, like with the Tampa Bay game with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. I think those are two guys to keep an eye on. And Jamin Davis is a rookie. Loved him coming out of the draft. He's playing really well. This is still a good Washington defense. They're giving up a lot of points, but they played the Bills. They played the Chargers, who just took down the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They've had some tough customers. I think their defense is still one of the best in the league. But hopefully they continue that 30-point per game trend, because if they do, hey, I think we got this one in the bag, just because Taylor Heineke, inexperienced quarterback, and I think Pease can't take advantage of that.
Yeah. We've had quite a lucky run. Go on, Mark.
I think that's certainly one of the things for me with Washington. Now, if it had been Fitzmagic, you kind of could have. I would have been a bit more nervous because he can. Don't get me wrong, he's partial to moments of lunacy, but he's an old school gunslinger, and I think Heineke's probably not got that sort of level of confidence. I mean, they've got weapons. Do you know what I mean? Washington they're a formidable outfit. And me and a couple of friends might do some hot takes for the weekend, and I decided to take Washington against the Bills. Obviously, I was wrong. But I think that the offense needs to show the same amount of improvement that our defense showed this week. I still see this as a winnable game. I think it's going to be a challenge, and I think it's potentially not going to be. Well, it's definitely not going to be as easy as New York. Let's be honest. But I'm riding that wave at the minute of let's just keep improving, please to God. Like, if there's one person if there's one person you need to block this weekend, it's Chase Young, because he's gonna really, really ruin our days otherwise, I think.
Look, I actually like the Giants secondary better than I do the Washington secondary, and I think that's being overlooked a little bit. I think this could be a prime game for Hayden Hurst or Kyle Pitts to finally get going as a weapon.
Yeah.
The Giants actually matched up fairly well against our tight ends. They had some speedy guys in the secondary that could keep pace with Pitts. I don't see that with Washington. Washington wins up front. And I think they're going to try to take advantage of that. And look for Calvin Ridley too. The corners here. This isn't Adoree Jackson or Bradbury. That I think there's a downgrade as well with Washington where their corner play is concerned. Not substantial, but I think it's enough that if we get Russell Gage back, no offense to Lamade Zaccheaus, I think there's opportunities to win as long as they can get the ball out of Ryan's hands, relatively quickly, and give McGarry some help on the right side.
Yeah. Miles, what you thinking?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with David there. I think the big reason why we saw the tight ends were so, I guess, not in it outside of Lee Smith was what he just said to that point exactly. They were just covering them so well. I don't think that was just a product of Matt Ryan not throwing it to them. I think they were just pretty well covered. I think a lot of it hinges on the fact of, how much time Matt's going to be able to throw, because I think if he has time to throw this week, I think he can expose this secondary, because you're right. You don't have Adoree Jackson back there. You don't have Bradbury, covering these guys. And, one thing I do want to see that's a little bit different than the last 2 weeks. And again, maybe this is just a product of poor offensive line play and maybe the guys not knowing where they need to be. I want to see if we can stray away from the checkdowns, because I'm a little tired of seeing this, throwing it to Mike Davis, to Cordell Patterson, as good as he's been, right on the line of scrimmage, and just hoping he can get a first down. I'd like to see something a little more downfield, something a little bit maybe across the middle, some out routes, something, that isn't a check down. But yeah, I think if Matt has time to throw, then they can do something good here. But guys, I got to hop off really quick, but
that's all right. Enjoy your move, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate
Cheers,
it.
Miles.
See you, mate.
So should I hold off on ordering my Cordell Patterson jersey then?
Never.
Oh
Never.
no! Oh, we've got to. I think we've got to speak about him just some more, because 3 games in, and I don't think everyone thought. I think when we first signed him, I think a lot of the fan base was like, he's just going to be a returner, which is everyone's fine with, because our return game the last couple of years has been,
Subpar.
So everyone, when he came in, he's sort of set the world alight, kind of. He's the massive positive. He's receiving. He's a fucking beast, though. When he runs, he's like a tank, and he's hitting you. And you're thinking, bloody hell, he's like a sort of. I think even in the Eagles game where he was obviously the major positive as well, I don't think teams expected it. I don't think anyone knew we was going to use him so much, and I think that has sort of shocked. Obviously, we ended up losing the first 2 games, but that sort of shocked teams straight up.
Yeah.
Carl, do you think it's something to do with, I think when kind of teams are going to study the film of our games, they don't know kind of whether to look at him as a running back or a wide receiver?
I think it's hard to argue against your point, really. I think there's plays he's doing both, and he's doing both at the same time every time.
Yeah.
I think they don't know, because if you've got like Ridley, Pitts, and then Gage on the field, and then you think, are they gonna? Obviously, he's quick off the mark, and are they running it or not? Because if not, he's another wide receiver straight up, and I think teams are missing it. I think he'll have. I think he'll have another big game personally, because I think Matt Ryan's going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quick next week. I think everyone's going to see that, especially with Chase Young. So I think he's going to be used a lot more again.
Yeah, and these Washington linebackers are not anything to, write home about. Ron Rivera does not have a Luke Kuechly on this Washington team. And I said last week. I predicted that Patterson would have a big game against the Giants, primarily because of the those matchups. And I really liked him against the Giants linebackers, and I like him again in this game against the Redskins linebackers. And to be blunt, like, even if you've got a guy that can keep pace with him, he's so violent. He is just
He really is.
Good luck bringing this guy down. And the thing I like about that is that begins to pay dividends as you get into the third and fourth quarter. When you've got this guy just brutalizing these linebackers and these safeties at the second level, it takes a toll. And, this is what we used to see with the Falcons back when Michael Turner was hauling the rock. They would just pound the fool out of that team. And that's why the Falcons were so good in the fourth quarter under Mike Smith, is because they legitimately would wear that defense out, and it would open up opportunities later in the game. And I do think that is intentional. I think Arthur Smith is being very intentional about trying to establish the run, beating up this defense, forcing them to tackle big guys. Does Arthur Smith have a type? Yes, he has a type for big, freaking heavy running backs. They're going to brutalize you and end up in your nightmares. So yeah, he has a type, but I like it. I like the mentality. He is trying to take it to these defenses and say, go ahead, tackle us for 3 quarters. And by the time the fourth quarter comes around, we're going to start slinging it on you, because you're not going to be able to keep pace, because we've broken your legs the entire game.
We saw him. He broke down Logan Ryan, like froze Logan Ryan, and then just shoved him like a child. I'm like, dude, I didn't know you had that in your bag. You think of Patterson as the return guy, but obviously, like I go to UGA. I watched Patterson when he played at Tennessee. Like, I'm surprised nobody really used him like this before. Like, he has that ability. Minnesota never really did it. Chicago never really did it. I think he's been to a couple other places besides there. And, hey, maybe he's a good running back. It's just kind of crazy to think that he's been a receiver return man, and he's almost 30, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think going back to Pitts, I didn't mention it earlier. I think obviously he didn't receive the ball, but when he did, it's if you get him to the ball, he will do the rest for me. He's off the mark. His acceleration for 6'5", is it? Could be.
He made the difference in the fourth quarter, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But as soon as you give him the ball, he's like another truck that's just gonna. It's taking 2 or 3 defenders to take him down at times, and it's great to see. And I think, like David said, their secondary is not the best, and I think he will. It could be a game where he could make his mark.
Yeah. Sorry, just we've not got too much longer left, and there's just one little point that I kind of overlooked earlier. We mentioned briefly Franks at tight end, but I did not mention Matt Ryan in the flex when Franks was at quarterback. Can I get anyone's takes on that? Mainly David, just based off the reaction again. Can you imagine how quick Matty Ice will be running down that line?
My liver is on life support. If they do that again, I'm done. There is not enough vodka on this planet to erase the memory of Matt Ryan split out wide. If Arthur Smith sees this, I just want to look in the camera. Arthur, stop it. Stop it. No one wants to see this. It's not going to work. You're not fooling anybody. Stop it. That's all I have to say.
The fact that was so early in the game is what hurt me the most. It wasn't even like we're down, we're struggling, should we just try some at random? It was literally like, oh no, we're all fresh as anything. Everybody's still got energy, everybody's healthy.
It's a ball. I like it.
We'll wrap it up in the next couple of minutes. But before we get on to the predictions, I'm just going to say the feeling of a win. I think was it November, and like Mark said, I don't give a shit. We played the Giants. They ain't good. But you beat who you beat. You can only beat whichever team you play it. There was a
301 days.
Jesus,
that's a long time.
There was a lot of negative as well, yeah. But it's a new scheme. We've got to. It's going to take time, and we're seeing positives. And I think Washington is. I think we've all said we can beat them. There's no reason why we can't. You're never going to stop Chase Young, but if you sort of help stopping him slightly for an extra half a second, it gives Matt Ryan half a second extra. But if we go 2-2 and obviously play the Jets, obviously me, Danny are going to the games in London. We'll bring that win home and we'll make it free.
Just a quick question to a selection of people on Twitter. You know who you are. How about that Justin Fields?
Oh no.
I heard this on a podcast that I listened to, and I absolutely love this. He said that Matt Nagy was so pissed off with everybody telling him that he doesn't know what he's doing and he should start Justin Fields that he intentionally called shitty plays to make Justin Fields look bad so he can start it. I kind of believe that. I don't know. It's not too out of bounds.
It is not. I've seen people do much worse for much less. So
but still, all these rookie quarterbacks have actually looked really bad. Really bad.
They have. But just coming off that, Mark, to be fair, everybody's been saying, mobile quarterback, this and that. But you still need an O-line, and we don't have a perfect O-line yet. So it doesn't matter if it's Fields or Matt. They're still getting absolutely slammed for us. So even though Matt's not mobile, at least he's got the experience to sit there for a few more seconds extra and then release it or try and release it. Whereas I just imagine Fields going...
Yeah, the whole rookie quarterback that can run is going to improve everything. I'm so tired of that argument because the thing that an experienced quarterback like Matt Ryan has over these guys is he's used to the NFL speed. He is used to a pocket collapsing around him. Yeah. Like if you look at Justin Fields, most of these rookie quarterbacks, they actually don't have a ton of experience with a pocket collapsing around them. They have come from systems and from programs where they had really good offensive lines giving them time in the pocket. The last thing they know how to do at the NFL level is deal with a 1.5 second pocket. Whereas, unfortunately, Matt Ryan's very experienced with that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe you could just be Trey Lance with Trent Williams bench pressing defenders as you take a 1-yard touchdown in the end zone. So
that player is still in orbit, by the way.
That's Eric Stokes. That's my boy. Hey, that was a mismatch. That was on coaching. That's not on him.
That was. Love it. Just out of curiosity, before we wrap it up, what are your guys' takes on mobile quarterbacks as a whole? Do you think this is just a phase that everybody's going through, rooting for mobile quarterbacks? Because we're still seeing the more static ones that are able to pocket pass and everything be pretty successful. And of course, they take a lot less hits. We've seen it with Cam Newton and Russell Wilson and everyone like that. They take hits like running backs do. It's not sustainable, surely.
I think the game's changing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Jake. The game's changing, isn't it? So, like, I think, you're not going to... I don't think you're going to see kind of many quarterbacks coming through in the top 10 of the draft that look like Brett Favre. Do you know what I mean? Like he was, it was just a different time. And I think that there's always going to kind of be this discussion in any fan base, not just ours, but, about the need for a quarterback to have a level of mobility. But I mean, I suppose the issue with that is that, Lamar Jackson isn't going to be doing what he's doing when he's 32 years old.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Which essentially goes like, it's like, in that case, you're never really going to have a franchise quarterback. You're always going to be chopping and changing. It's like running backs. Like it feels like at the minute in the NFL, the minute a team pays a running back, that's their death warrant. Because they paid him, he'll get injured the next year, and then he'll be useless. And then it's so for me, and I think that it's kind of prominent to us because we hear it all the time that we need a mobile quarterback and we've got an old slow quarterback. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but I think it's the evolution of the game as it is that it's always kind of going to be a discussion. I think it'll be less of a discussion in a couple of years' time when Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have kind of lost a yard or two of pace, which happens because we're getting old, right? I mean, I can't get up the stairs in less than 5 minutes at the moment. Now I'm only fucking 34. So it's I think that discussion is kind of already starting to become a little bit kind of diluted already.
Even if you look at a guy like Justin Herbert. Like when I say Justin Herbert, the first thing that comes to your mind, you're not going to say, "Oh, he's a mobile quarterback." Justin Herbert can move, and he's a big guy too. And I think it's just kind of becoming, the archetype. And I don't think it's something that's a necessity because Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year, and you talk about what you really call, like a necessity. I think you can win without it. I think it's all more about the team. I think having a quarterback that has. I think mental makeup's still the most important thing in this league. I'll sum it up in a few words.
Yeah. I think you're going to see quarterbacks have to be not necessarily runners, but able to buy a little bit of time in the pocket. But it's one of the reasons I think you see big-armed quarterbacks struggle to make it in the NFL. A lot of the times, these guys come out with rockets for an arm, and the one thing they get used to in college is they can force the ball in there. Yeah. And the windows in the NFL are a tenth the size of what they are in college. And the guys who ultimately succeed at the NFL level, as Jake said, they have the mental game down. They can process what's happening, and they can process it quickly. And I just want to say this as well, accuracy. You still have to have an accurate quarterback in the NFL. I've seen so many times guys come out, and you can maybe list on one hand the number of guys that come out of college with accuracy problems that fix it at the NFL. Yeah. And so, the ability to move is somewhat important, but I think the mental capacity and the accuracy are still going to be critical traits that are going to separate the top tier players from the guys that you move on from, like the Jets every 2 years.
Yeah.
and look, I mean, we've spoken about this a few times, but when Dave's just right there, he talks about the Jets. Look at Donald now, and you all thought I was fucking bananas for rating him. I loved him in college, and I was going and Dave, Jake, I don't know whether you may have seen it or may not, but I was kind of one of the guys sitting there going, well, look, if the Jets are releasing him and we need to plan for Matt Ryan or life after Matt Ryan, why aren't we going after Donald? And everyone sat there and called me all the names under the sun because I was an idiot. Look at him now. Like, I'm sorry, but I think we're going to have to chalk this one up to one of Mark's hot takes has proved at least a little bit right now.
Hey, I said the same thing about Mitch Trubisky, so we can be in that club together. I'm still waiting on mine.
Yeah.
Mark, about 50 of our previous guests owe you a pint for that one because you shit over the last few years.
It's all right. I'll be there in London, boys. Don't worry. You can send them all my way then.
Shop all around.
Depends on prices. Everyone knows what London prices are. You get half a pint there.
You know what though? But to Mark's point, because people have asked and said, "Don't you think the Falcons should have drafted the quarterback? Don't you think the Falcons should have drafted the quarterback?" Here's the thing: I know with absolute, positive, 100% certainty, some NFL team is going to screw up their quarterback situation where they are not going to handle the quarterback well. And I think there is a chance that one of these quarterbacks taken this year could be a free agent in 3 or 4 years, and the Falcons could poach him up as a potential replacement for Matt Ryan. And that's why I felt like absolutely go best player available, because ultimately, out of these 32 teams, there are a handful of clubs every year that just completely botch player handling, and they give opportunities like Ryan Tannehill to Tennessee. And I think it's going to happen again. It happens every single year. We see reclamation projects every single year in the NFL. And that's why I think you never overinvest, especially if you don't believe in the guy.
There's not a super high.
I know it's preseason, but Mitch Trubisky on the Bills absolutely dismantled Chicago. I know it's preseason, but it's just one of them. Like, certain teams have better fits for quarterbacks, but it's still, like these quarterbacks that kind of get pushed out by the franchises. I completely agree, Dave. I think you might be spot on there.
Yeah, Mark, that was a good point, Mark. Because it's like you can't just put any quarterback in a team, and if some Falcons fans would literally think if we had Mahomes, we would have won. We'll win the Super Bowl this year. It just doesn't happen like that. That's what some fans do. I think it is from a lot of the franchises, to be fair. But you've got to fit. It fits the system. It fits the franchise. Matt Ryan fits ours, and there's plenty of others that fit others.
I hope that comment's a joke, by the way. I don't know if you boys can see it, but I think AJ or Josh Rosen might say
it will not be AJ.
It will not be AJ.
Maybe Josh Rosen. I'm Team Felipe.
I like Felipe.
What are you talking about? He's a tight end now.
Love it.
Before we wrap up, we're going to do a quick score prediction for next week. We'll start with Mark.
23-18. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be high scoring. I think we'll probably have to grind a little bit like we did this weekend. But yeah, I can see us giving a decent account. So yeah, 23-18. I'll go for.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Jake, what are you going for prediction next week?
I kind of want to pick us to lose because I feel like that's better.
Oh my God.
I thought we were gonna have a lot of success against Philly in week 1, and I feel like when I am a little more pessimistic, the team does better. So I'm gonna say Washington. What's the spread? I think we're 1-point favorites. I'm gonna say Washington 22, Falcons 17. Weird score. Something weird happens. There we go.
Go on, David.
I see some good opportunities in that secondary, and I'm gonna lean on that. They're gonna be at home. I think that's gonna help. I'm gonna say Falcons 21, Washington 20. So it's gonna be a nail biter.
Okay, I'll take that. I mean, I'd take another walk off without a doubt because that was so satisfying, but so satisfying. Cal, do you want to do a prediction or shall I wrap it up? Because I'm not going to
do a quick one. Considering I think I put like 60 points on the board last week, so I'm going to go for a 21-14 to us.
Okay.
It's going to be the last couple of minutes touchdown.
I'll take it. And Mike, that's watching the show, has got Falcons 6, Washington 3. So that's
it wouldn't surprise me at this point, honestly.
It would not. Right, boys, we will wrap it up for the night. It went on a little bit longer than we thought, but we ended up covering much more than we thought. So thank you all for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for watching. we have noticed that because Periscope doesn't exist anymore, Twitter's video service is taken over fully when we run on this, and you can't comment at the moment. So if you want to comment, you'll have to use YouTube for the time being. So sorry about that for anyone that was watching. Lads, hopefully we'll get you all back on again at some point soon, and I'm hoping by that point we're at least 4-2. So we'll sort it out. But thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you all soon. Cheers.
Cheers, Rob.
Bye, lads. Thanks very much.